Robin Williams was in the middle of a scene when he suddenly stopped. He looked at the script supervisor with pure panic in his eyes and said, "What's my next line?" It was a simple line, one he'd rehearsed that morning, but he couldn't remember it. The crew thought it was just a bad day, but Robin knew the truth. His brain was dying, and nobody else could know. It was May 2014, and Robin Williams was filming scenes for Night at the Museum, Secret of the Tomb in London. It should have been an easy, fun project, the third film in a successful franchise, working with friends, playing a character he knew well. A victory lap, not a struggle. But for Robin, every single day on that set was a battle against his own mind. 3 months earlier, Robin had started experiencing symptoms that terrified him. He couldn't sleep. When he did sleep, he had vivid, disturbing nightmares. His hands trembled. He felt anxious for no reason. He'd stand in a room and forget why he'd entered it. At first, doctors thought it was Parkinson's disease.
So he showed up every day and tried to act like everything was normal. But it wasn't normal. Nothing was normal. The first major incident happened during week 2 of filming. Robin was doing a scene that required him to deliver a monologue. Nothing complicated, just his character giving advice to Ben Stiller's character. They'd rehearsed it multiple times. Robin knew the lines. The camera started rolling. Robin began the monologue. And then mid-sentence, he stopped. His face went blank. He looked around, confused, as if he didn't know where he was or what he was supposed to be doing. "Robin?" the director called. "You okay?" Robin blinked, came back to himself. "Sorry, lost my place. Can we go again?" They went again. The same thing happened. Robin would get 3 or 4 lines in, and then the words would just disappear from his mind. After the 5th take, Robin asked for a break. He walked off set, went to his trailer, and sat there, trying not to panic. He knew his lines that morning. He'd practiced them in the mirror. But now, standing in front of the camera, they were just gone. The script supervisor, a woman named Sarah, knocked on his trailer door. "Robin, can I help?" Robin opened the door. His eyes were red. "I can't remember the lines," he said quietly. "I know I knew them this morning, but now they're just gone." Sarah made a decision in that moment that she'd later say saved the production. "Okay," she said, "here's what we're going to do. I'm going to stand just off camera where you can see me. I'll have the script. If you forget a line, just glance at me and I'll mouth it to you. Nobody will know." "That's cheating," Robin said. "It's adapting," Sarah replied. "Every actor forgets lines sometimes. We'll just make sure you have backup." So they developed a system. Sarah would stand where Robin could see her. If he got stuck, he'd glance her way, and she'd silently give him the next line. To anyone watching, it looked like Robin was just taking a natural pause in his performance. But it wasn't natural. Robin was forgetting lines that he'd known perfectly an hour earlier. Simple dialogue that should have been easy was becoming impossible to hold in his mind. The production team started to notice that something was wrong, but they didn't know what. Robin seemed tired, anxious. He'd ask for more takes than usual. He'd need longer breaks between setups. But he never complained. He never said he was struggling. He just kept showing up and doing his best to deliver the performance everyone expected. What the crew didn't know was what was happening in Robin's hotel room every night. His wife, Susan, was with him in London during filming. She watched as Robin's condition deteriorated day by day. He couldn't sleep more than a few hours. He'd wake up disoriented, not knowing where he was. He'd spend hours pacing the room, unable to calm his anxiety. One night, Susan woke up at 3 a.m. to find Robin standing in the bathroom, staring at his shoes. "Robin?" she said. "What's wrong?" He turned to her, and she could see he'd been crying. "I can't remember how to tie my shoes," he said.
I've been standing here for 20 minutes trying to remember, and I can't figure it out. Susan went to him, held him while he cried. In the morning, they'd have to pretend everything was fine. Robin would have to go to set and perform like nothing was wrong. But in that bathroom at 3 a.m., they both knew something was terribly, terribly wrong. Robin started using tricks to get through filming. He'd write notes on his hands. He'd ask to see the script between every take, claiming he wanted to check something, but really just trying to memorize the next scene's lines again. He'd do multiple takes of the same scene, not because he was being perfectionist, but because he literally couldn't remember what he'd just done and wanted to make sure they had something usable. The other actors noticed, but didn't say anything. Ben Stiller, who'd worked with Robin on all 3 Night at the Museum films, could tell something was different. Robin seemed slower, less spontaneous. The improvisation that had made the earlier films so fun wasn't happening as much. But Ben assumed Robin was just tired, or maybe not as invested in this third film. He had no idea Robin was fighting to remember basic dialogue. There was one scene that took an entire day to film, a scene that should have taken maybe 2 hours. It was a simple conversation between Robin's character and Ben's character, just 2 people talking. But Robin kept forgetting his lines. Not just forgetting them, he'd remember them, deliver them, and then 5 minutes later have no memory that he'd already done the scene. He'd ask to do it again, thinking it was the first take, when they'd already done it 8 times. The director finally called Susan aside. "Is Robin okay?" he asked. "He seems really off today." Susan had to make a choice. Tell the truth and potentially shut down production, or protect Robin's privacy and help him get through this. "He's dealing with some medical stuff," she said carefully. "Nothing that affects his ability to work, just he's having some rough days. Please be patient with him." The director nodded and was patient. The whole crew was patient. They started building in extra time for Robin's scenes. They'd shoot other things first thing in the morning and schedule Robin's work for later in the day when he seemed more alert. They adapted without really understanding what they were adapting to. Robin's assistant started carrying cue cards to set, holding them just out of frame during Robin's close-ups so he could read his lines if he needed to. It was a secret between Robin, the assistant, and Sarah, the script supervisor. But Robin hated it. He hated needing help. He hated that his brain wasn't working the way it used to. He hated feeling like he was fooling everyone. One day, after a particularly difficult scene, Robin pulled Sarah aside. "Thank you for helping me," he said. "And I'm sorry you have to." "Robin, you have nothing to apologize for," Sarah said. "You're doing an amazing job under really difficult circumstances." "No one can know how hard this is," Robin said. "I need everyone to think I'm fine. Can you promise me that?" Sarah promised, and she kept that promise, even after Robin died. The final day of filming was in July 2014. Robin's last scene was a simple one, just a few lines, saying goodbye to the other characters. When the director called cut on Robin's final shot, the crew burst into applause. It's traditional to applaud when an actor raps on a film, but this applause felt different. People were crying. There was something emotional in the air that nobody could quite name. Robin hugged Ben Stiller, thanked the crew, and went back to his trailer. Susan found him there an hour later, sitting alone in the dark. "I made it," he said to her. "I actually made it through." "You did," Susan said. "I'm so proud of you." "Nobody knew," Robin said. "Nobody knew how hard that was. And that's how I wanted it." Robin Williams died 6 weeks later, on August 11th, 2014. The initial report said depression and suicide, but the autopsy revealed the real cause: Lewy body dementia, one of the most aggressive forms of dementia. When the autopsy results came out, Susan spoke publicly about what Robin had been experiencing: the hallucinations, the paranoia, the
cognitive decline, the inability to sleep. All of it had been symptoms of Lewy body dementia.
The disease had been far more advanced than anyone realized. Robin's brain at autopsy showed severe, widespread damage, and he'd filmed an entire movie while his brain was deteriorating. The director of Night at the Museum, when he learned about the Lewy body dementia diagnosis, went back and watched the footage from filming with new understanding. There were moments I thought Robin was just having an off day, the director said in an interview. Now I realize he was fighting to remember his own name. What he accomplished during that filming is nothing short of heroic. Sarah, the script supervisor, spoke about it years later in a documentary about Robin's life. Robin knew something was terribly wrong, she said, but he didn't want to let anyone down. He didn't want to stop working. So he showed up every day and did everything in his power to give a good performance, even though his brain was betraying him. That's who Robin was, professional to the end. The production assistants who'd helped Robin, who'd created their quiet system of support, only realized the full extent of what they'd witnessed after Robin died.
"We thought we were just helping him with some memory issues," one PA said. "We didn't know his brain was literally dying. Looking back, the fact that he could work at all, that he could hit marks, deliver lines, do takes, it seems impossible." Medical experts who reviewed the timeline agreed. Based on the severity of Robin's Lewy body dementia at the time of his death, and working backward, he should have been experiencing severe symptoms during the filming of Night at the Museum. Symptoms like profound confusion, inability to form new memories, difficulty with basic tasks, severe anxiety, paranoia, and hallucinations. Robin had experienced all of those symptoms, and he'd still shown up to work every day. One neurologist who studied Robin's case said, "The level of cognitive function required to act, to memorize lines, to hit marks, to respond to direction, to stay in character, is quite high. For someone with Lewy body dementia as advanced as Robin's was, being able to do that work is remarkable. He was essentially forcing a failing brain to perform at a professional level through sheer willpower." Night at the Museum, Secret of the Tomb was released in December 2014, 4 months after Robin's death. Audiences watching the film had no idea they were seeing a man fighting against his own mind.
They saw Robin Williams being funny, charming, doing his job. They didn't see the struggle between takes. They didn't see the notes on his hands. They didn't see Sarah standing off camera mouthing lines. They didn't see the exhaustion, the fear, the determination. They just saw the performance, which is exactly what Robin wanted. In one of the last interviews he gave before his death, Robin was asked about his approach to acting. "You show up," he said. "No matter what's happening in your life, no matter how you feel, you show up and you do the work. That's professionalism. That's respect for your craft and your colleagues. You show up." And Robin did show up every single day of filming, while his brain was dying, while he couldn't sleep, while he couldn't remember how to tie his shoes, while he knew something was desperately wrong. He showed up. He protected his crew from the burden of knowing. He protected the production from shutting down. He protected his own dignity by hiding how much he was struggling.
It was an act of incredible courage and incredible sadness. Robin Williams' final performance wasn't just acting. It was a man willing his failing brain to work for just a few more weeks. It was determination in the face of impossible circumstances. It was professionalism elevated to heroism. When you watch Night at the Museum, Secret of the Tomb, you're watching Robin Williams say goodbye, not just to the character, but to acting itself, to the career he loved, to the brain that was betraying him. And you're watching him do it with grace, with humor, with the insistence that nobody see how hard it was. That's the final gift Robin Williams gave us, a performance that shouldn't have been possible, delivered by a man who refused to let his disease define his work. He showed up until he couldn't anymore. And then, 6 weeks later, he was gone.